All right. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is show number 307, your place for Xbox talk and more from around the game industry. I'm Invader, your guiding voice for the show, and I'm naturally delighted to have you all here with us this evening as people start filing in, more and more of you. For tonight, we plan to discuss a few things, and who knows, could even deviate to others. Hellblade 2 has been making the news rounds with various previews. We'll go over our thoughts on that highly touted title, as well as some backwards compatibility news, rumors circulating about Xbox's June showcase plans. I know that there's a little bit of rumor, gossip stuff going around at this very moment about Square Enix. I kind of want to deviate from that because, again, we don't know, guys. I want to get some more information there. We shall see. I mean, we can kind of touch on it maybe, but again, who knows? Who knows, right? Just because somebody says something on social media doesn't mean it's real, right? But who knows? But yeah, anyways, with that said, let me introduce all the fantastic crew with us tonight, starting off with the Crusader. Crusader, what's up?
I am pretty good. I have been playing a lot of games in the last, two, because we did not have a show last weekend, correct?
That's correct. It was the Easter long weekend, so, I mean, I was busy, so, yeah. Couldn't do it.
So, I'm looking through my list of games I played recently, and I started LA Noire yesterday. I'm loving that. I beat Evil West, which was okay. I beat Azura's Wrath, which was okay. I beat Scarlet Nexus, which was fantastic. Well, I only beat one of the two playthroughs. There's two different characters you can play as. I'm gonna do the other one this summer. And I beat Jedi Survivor.
Nice.
Jedi Survivor was really good. Really good. Really happy I waited on that because I didn't have performance issues.
Nice.
So really happy I waited a solid year on that. That was definitely worth the wait.
All right, happy to hear that. Yeah, I mean, I got into gaming as well. Some titles there. I beat and played through a Warhammer 40k game on PlayStation 5 called Shoota's Blood and Teeth. It's like an orc game made by the Guns, Gore, and Cannoli studio, and very short game, but pretty good overall. I mean, I would recommend it. Only 3 or 4 hours, but it was all right. And I downloaded and played Martha is Dead in the middle of that, and the Sackboy Adventure. So I've been playing a lot on my PlayStation the past week, but just going back and forth on a few things. All right, who else do we got here? Grimes, what's up, brother?
What's up? By the way, I've heard Martha is Dead is super wild, it's scary as hell.
It's
really messed up. Very some messed up scenes I've heard.
I mean, already I'm about an hour into it, and there was something that surprised me, within the first 20 minutes. So yeah, yeah, you're right.
So I can't wait to hear more about it. But yeah, I haven't been playing a lot of games. Just been playing Diablo 4 right now. I have it installed both on the computer and on the Xbox, and just love how seamless it's switching between the two versions. No hassle at all. Not having achievements on Battle.net is sort of a bummer, but it's whatever. But it's a really fun game. And I'm sure they'll implement some sort of an achievement system eventually on Battle.net. I have to say one thing I don't like about Diablo 4 is the cosmetics, how ridiculously overpriced they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like a $20 for a skin that you're just licensing. It's kind of wild, but very tempting because the skins look so good. But I've resisted so far. But yeah, the game, I'm having a lot of fun playing Diablo 4. It's much better than Diablo 3, and it's on Game Pass. So.
All right, that's cool. I'm happy to hear you checked it out, and yeah, it's pretty cool, Grimes. Next up, Centurion. Cent, how you been the past week? Been doing any gaming?
Oh yeah, I've been doing pretty good. Definitely been doing some gaming. Um, I've been playing South Park: The Fractured But Whole. Um, obviously the continuation of Elder Scrolls Online. A little bit of Dragon's Dogma. Well, Dragon's Dogma 2. Also a asinine amount of what the hell is it called? Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, I picked up My Time in Sandrock because I'm gonna check that game out. I thought it'd be a fun little relaxing thing. I've yet to dive into it, but I'm definitely gonna check that one out.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
Was that game on sale with the spring sale or no?
Yeah, it was on sale. They
Okay.
have like the base version for like $30, and then you have
Mhm.
like the deluxe for like 37 and change. I grabbed the deluxe version just because I was like, you know what,
Mhm.
I could probably play that with me and my wife and just have a relaxing time. But also, I thought it was cool because I remember My Time on Portia, or however you want to pronounce it.
Mhm.
This one it's more of a I feel because it's weird how their universe works. Apparently, in the My Time universe, it's after an apocalyptic situation, like a couple hundred years after the collapse of the world, and that's where these games premises come from. Is why you're like rebuilding the towns that you're in. My time in Portia was more of a exploration, a little bit of melee, but with Sandrock, what really caught my eye
Mhm.
was the addition of now they have it's a shooter mechanic, and I've seen videos of people running around shooting at stuff. So I'm just like, oh wow, okay, so they're putting more of a combat element into it, and there's also a lot more story-based content. Where Portia, to me, it was just a little bit not heavy on the story, but this one it's got way better reviews than Portia. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll just go ahead and dive into that one.
All right. All right. Interesting. I might have to check that one out. I like some relaxing games. Very neat. Next up, Eric Shockley. My man, how you been?
Pretty good. Just been trying to finish or get through more of a Final Fantasy Rebirth, but been watching some getting back into some anime. Kind of sucks that well, I got into Perfect Blue that is directed by Satoshi Kon, or no, Kon. Sorry, but yes, I've been hearing about that movie for like ever, but never watched it. But that movie tripped you out. But I guess I know he had passed away not like a decade ago. And I guess he had some other um, people, revere some of the rest of basically his whole work. So I watched Perfect Blue. That was pretty dope. And then got into it. He did a series, Paranoia Agent. So I'm in the middle of that. Um, but yeah, it kind of sucks that I got a digital copy of one of those, and I think it was his Paranoia Agent series he did. But usually you see those Blu-rays that it says digital copy. Usually just go to like a digital store, Apple, whatever. But no, it takes you to Funimation, and guess what? Funimation just got merged into Crunchyroll. So if you have even digital copies, like I think those you don't even have access to because Sony owns both Funimation and Crunchyroll and just killed one of them. So if we're talking about monopolies, like they just literally, I still don't understand how they were able to just go in there and buy both. They already own Funimation, they can buy the other one. Like that just seemed like it ruined the market.
I'm with you, and this where it might get people get a lot of heated in what I'm about to say, but I really do feel like Sony is leading the way in the violation of digital rights. Out of all the companies on the market, Sony is like by far the worst perpetrator of stripping people of content that they've paid for.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I got a digital code, cool. I can't redeem it anywhere.
Well, I can only hope that I kind of have my own. This might I'm not trying to open up a discussion, but I just get sick and tired of seeing how politicians are so freaking concerned about what freaking apps we use on our phone and how many cat videos I freaking watch on that damn app. But for whatever reason, they turn a blind eye to companies consistently taking purchases from people that have shelled out their hard-earned money and all this other stuff. And that's where I was just like, dude, like, I think that I really do think that politicians and world regulators could better use their time in basically concentrating on things that matter, like on how there's really, like, literally the world of digital distribution right now is the wild, wild west. And it's absolutely insane to me that nobody is trying to wrangle it in.
Wicca Wicca Wild Wild West. Sorry, I had to. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I understand where you're coming from there, Scent, and yeah, no, thanks, Shockley, thank you very much. Next up, General MLD, how you doing, man?
Hey, doing pretty good. Week in gaming, I'll try and cover as much games as I can here. Played Evil West and The Quarry, beat them both pretty good. And now I'm just on some kind of nostalgic binge right now. I'm playing a series Call of Juarez it was like a 360 series right there. I'm also playing Mirror's Edge. I'm going to play the first and second one as well before I get into Diablo 4. I know that's going to take up some time.
Just out of curiosity, have you touched Fear 3 yet?
Not yet. That's also on my list.
All right.
So, yeah.
Good game that was.
Yeah, I played 1, 2, so I'm curious how the trilogy ends.
He borrowed it off of me, that's why I asked.
Okay.
But no, I mean, it's fun. It's different, but it's fun. I liked it. And Dots, man, how you been?
I've been good. Another fun Sunday night, to be sure. I've been on my painting kick, and I am one model away from being done with my Space Marine. So I'm in a good mood on that.
I saw that.
Yeah, no, that librarian was a pain in my ass, but he got through. Also, really cool news on the Helldivers front. We completely eliminated the automatons. So we've actually, as a community, have annihilated one of the enemy factions from the game, which will likely come back in the future. But it's certainly very interesting how much of a success this type of a live service game is really going. So
I actually just got Helldivers 2. It was a birthday present for me yesterday. So I was actually planning on firing it up tomorrow. So are you saying that when I fire it up...
You can only fight the bugs. The bots are no longer in the game until an event happens later that will bring them back. But most likely what's going to happen is that on the 11th, they're adding the next gear pass. And that might be when they introduce the third faction into the game, because there's been a lot of hints and rumors leading towards, the third faction known as the Illuminant, or known by us as the Squids.
Yeah, I did see some leaks, yeah.
Yeah, that they're going to be the next thing. So right now it's literally going to be probably 4 days of fighting bugs nonstop. Well, because the bots are gone. You literally cannot fight the bots anymore.
That's very interesting. I'm curious how that's going to work out. So, I guess I'll kill me some bugs.
Really is such a cool live service that there is an active war that has ebbs and flows with the different factions. That's so cool.
The interesting thing is apparently in Helldivers 1, the community could literally annihilate all 3 factions, but then it would do a map reset. That's what would happen. Is if you beat all the factions, it would reset the map. That was in the first one. The second one has Joel. I don't think Joel will allow that to happen.
Well, again, I mean, it's interesting. I'm very curious about how that's gonna work. But yeah, I mean, that's okay. Well, that's interesting. Fight me some bugs tomorrow, then. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. I think I got through everybody. All right, guys. I'm gonna get into the topics, but just a very quick reminder to smash the like button and share out the show, as we would love to have more awesome people here aware that we are live to come and join us this evening. So yeah, smash the like button and share out the show. All right, let's get into our first talking point tonight, and it's about Hellblade. And recently, various media outlets got access to Hellblade 2 with previews. We got a snazzy new trailer for it. And yeah, you know what? I have to say that it looks pretty impressive from a visual standpoint. Sound-wise, I liked it. Lots of good stuff there. I'm curious what my panel mates thought of it. Crusader, starting off with you, bud. What was your takeaway from the latest trailer? And yeah, any thoughts about Hellblade 2 so far?
We finally got a comment on what the combat is going to actually be like.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier. Because I just played the first game not too horribly long ago. Believe it was this year. Could have been late last year. Don't quite remember. I've played 30 games this year. It all kind of blends. But my one gripe with the game was that the combat was like 60% of the way there to being something good and enjoyable and fun. But really got in the way to the point where like I actually, and I've discussed this with a couple other people who really, really love the game in my circle, and like we all kind of agreed that like the game may have literally been better without it and just more intense puzzles in the first one. So like, and the fact that they kept like not talking about the combat made me real nervous that it was going to be the same in this, which was going to be a little disappointing to me because it really was not a high point of the first one. But they said that it's almost exclusively one-on-one, and it's very visceral, and it's the same, but it's more refined and visceral and like completely mocapped, and in itself it sounds like it's almost like a puzzle in itself, right? Like how to defeat the one-on-one fight. And they talked about how there was like a new trinket to like to do some like that was I think it was like a mirror that you focus at stuff to like to slow down like something, or like from what I understand, it just sounded like they enjoyed it better, and like the people were like they were very critical of the first game's combat, and it just felt so much weightier and better in this. And that was like the biggest thing that I was just kind of like, yes, let's go, right?
Yeah.
Because the game is primarily a puzzle game, like it is. It's a puzzle game that is meant to be like a very thriller. It is very light on its combat or on its like gameplay loops.
Well,
right?
it's
like,
very linear. It's very linear.
It's very linear. It's gameplay like even in the first one, like with the combat, like it primarily was a puzzle game, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I really enjoyed the first one a lot. Like it's one of those games that made me feel something, right? And so like I'm very excited for the second one quite a bit, and that like upped my excitement for it tremendously, because it seems like the one thing that I didn't like about the first one is being resolved in a way that fits the game. That they didn't like cut it, but they also recognized that yeah, it didn't feel good in the first one. So that's fantastic to hear. Fantastic. As for its frame rate, I'm not disappointed it's not hitting 60. I'll straight up. They are going for some of the best visuals that we've ever seen in games.
Correct, yeah.
And they are going to be pushing the hardware to its limits, right? What I am a little disappointed about is how strict that it is still, even within that, because they basically said it's going to be 4K 30 and it's with a dynamic resolution. And I'm kind of sad that for someone like me who has the high-end console, the Series X, and has a high-end device that matches all the Series X capabilities with my LG CX, that it's not going to have something like a 40 FPS mode. Now, maybe they really don't have the frame budget to hit 40 FPS constantly, because if they are going for these heightened visuals like this far, maybe they don't even have the frame budget for that. And that's fine, you know, like even if you can't hit the 40, that's fine. But I would really like to have an uncapped frame rate mode akin to what Dragon's Dogma 2 just did. And I'll say that because Xbox Series X and S have some of the best VRR. They have the best VRR technology in consoles, and they have basically like outside of not having full support for G-Sync with a G-Sync chip, which is a NVIDIA thing, so they're not going to have it. They have like all of the best VRR tech that you can physically have in a console with full HDMI 2.1 VRR support and AMD if you don't have HDMI 2.1, you can also use AMD FreeSync to get the same kind of thing if you have an AMD FreeSync Premium device, which is not an actual cost. I don't know why they call it premium. It's just FreeSync that goes to 120 hertz. And they also have something that no other console has, which is called LFC. And LFC is low frame rate compensation. Because normally VRR only works within the range of 40 FPS, or 40 hertz, I should say, because it's VRR is changing the refresh rate, not FPS. So it's changing the hertz at which your display device goes at. And normally a VRR technology only works between 40 and up. In the case of consoles, it would be 40 to 120 because they only go up to 120 hertz support. Xbox is unique in that it also supports LFC, which lets it work from also between the ranges of 20 to 40 in a slightly different way, but still a very good way that offers an improvement over 30 FPS. Because when you're talking even like 3-4 frames, you're talking a 10 to 12% increase in performance. Because frame rates as you go up get less noticeable. But when you go up even a few, when you're as low as like 30, even a handful of additional frames are noticeable. So for those of us who have the devices that support the high-end features of the Xbox console, when we have those display devices, it would be great if Microsoft would actually implement those features into their games, because in order to get third parties to do it, the first party has to pave the path to doing it, right? So I'm not disappointed at a lack of 60 FPS. I am disappointed at a lack of, and so something like adding an uncapped frame rate could actually happen by launch. The game is digital only, and frame rate caps are literally a configuration setting. Like, I guarantee you'll be able to impose your own frame rate cap as a setting on the PC version of the game, because that's how things like VSync work, where you set the frame rate you want the game to maximize at. On consoles, instead of having that as a setting in a menu, it's literally just in a config file that they have like hard coded. So give me the option to uncap my frame rate so that maybe I can get an additional 5 frames on the console. And that may not be horrendously important in the case of Hellblade 2 itself, but in the general principle of Xbox releasing their games, I would like all of them to have uncapped frame rates, because an uncapped frame rate helps 30 FPS and up. It helps 60 FPS and up, because you could be going from 60 to 80 FPS, right? Like, I'd love to have an uncapped frame rate in Halo Infinite too. Halo Infinite has 120 FPS mode, but I'd almost rather play the quality mode with like an additional 20 frames and get like 80 instead of the 120. And when we just heard, and we're not going to talk about this to an extent tonight, I think we'll talk about it next week, but we heard Jez Corden's report about they're setting up a team within Xbox to look at furthering backwards compatibility and forwards compatibility, right? Everyone's been going nuts about the backwards compatibility stuff, but forwards compatibility is a concept too, where you design things in a way that makes them more compatible with the next thing that comes out. And having an unlocked frame rate in the game, or the option to, it should be an option, it should be a toggle that you can do in a menu, but having that option instantly makes games more compatible with the next system that can run the software better, right? Because then you're not waiting for a patch to increase the frame rate. It will just be increased by running on the stronger hardware. We actually saw that this generation with GTA 4. GTA 4 for the Xbox 360 actually has an uncapped frame rate on the 360. It ran at basically 30 on the Xbox 360, but it was uncapped, which made it on the Xbox One, it ran at like 40. On the Xbox One X, it ran at like 50. And on the Xbox Series, it actually hits the cap that their engine has, which is 60. And it hits a solid 60 on that. So if you uncap the frame rate in these games that are coming out, then it future-proofs it instantly in at least one way. for the next set of hardware. And when they're talking about setting up a team to do that, that is something I really want to. You're going to hear me talk about it a lot online. It's something I really want to encourage them to do, because it really shows that they do really care right now about making sure that your games now are going to be as good as they can be in the future. It shows that they're investing now in a way that's tangible to me, that kind of shows me that that hardware is going to 100% exist, because they're doing all they can to invest now. And I think the reason why I'm kind of disappointed that there doesn't seem to be, at least upon the interviews, that there's going to be these kind of like nice features is because Ninja Theory is one of the most technically capable studios that Microsoft has, right? Maybe only beaten by the Coalition. I think we can probably, the Coalition's definitely a challenger for that. But to see them not, this game was the game that was pitched alongside the Series X, and to see it not taking advantage of the Series X in every way that it can, because if it's maxing out the GPU and CPU, and it's maxing out that hardware for its fidelity, it could be slightly better in some cases if they added that toggle. And that's the kind of stuff that I would expect from the most technically capable studios that Microsoft has, right? Like Starfield, disappointed that didn't have that kind of system too, even if they couldn't hit a solid 60. Give me the option to, because I have the hardware, the stuff that can, and your console can, give me the option to at least get up to like 45 frames. And it won't look terrible because my display will adjust its refresh rate so that I won't get tearing and things like that, or stuttering. So I'm not disappointed, and I'm not even really upset, but I am going to be kind of unhinged about it online, just because I want this forwards and backwards compatibility team to always have stuff to do. And this is the most upfront thing that I can see right now that they could be going around and encouraging to all the studios, that hey, for our high-end users, put in a way for them to uncap stuff, because it's really this is something that a basic intern could do. Because again, it is in the PC versions of the game, this concept will be there, that you'll be able to see how you can cap and uncap it just there. Give us the option to uncap games on console. And this extends to all third parties too. Give us that option, especially on Xbox, where from 20 FPS to 120 FPS, we can make our TVs match the refresh rate. And, on PlayStation, they don't have LFC. And so, you don't see VRR stuff for their 30 and 40 FPS modes because it doesn't work right. It will look terrible. But on Xbox, it can look good. And we can squeeze a little bit more performance out. And it's as much as letting us uncap it, to let us squeeze that little bit of performance out. So, that's all I'd really want here. And it's not I'm upset or anything, but it's the one thing that if we yell loud enough now, it could maybe be in time for launch, and we would just have a ever so slightly better experience on console.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when I saw the latest gameplay, I was actually pretty pumped. I wasn't sure what to expect.
Yeah, it looks so good,
but
so good.
Yeah, and I do understand completely what you're saying. You're not knocking it. It's just a matter of would I like? Right?
Yeah, I would. I think people who want 60 FPS in this would actually be asking for a worse product. At least on this console, right? You go to the next console, like the Xbox, whatever the hell it's going to be called in the horrible Microsoft naming convention. But you go to the next Xbox, right? And I would expect them to, if they don't add a uncap mode, I would expect a patch to make this game better on the next console, right?
Right.
Because that's kind of Microsoft's shtick.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably expect the next hardware to be able to do it, especially if it's the biggest transformative jump. But I can see a path, as someone who knows a basic amount about development and knows that this isn't a hard thing to do and knows what the console is capable of. It's something that I would very much like to see, and I'd like to see it in every one of Microsoft's games that come out going forward, not just this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. But I mean, I gotta say, even with just for my own opinion, 30 FPS. Well, it's sort of disappointing. Like, honestly, like the game, like from what I just saw in the latest trailer, I like it. It looks the same, except it looks gorgeous. It looks so gorgeous.
So pretty. Yeah, so pretty. Now, that being said, I still think I like stylized more, so I still think the best looking game that Microsoft has ever put out is Ori. I like the Will and the Wisps. I
Right.
still think that's the most gorgeous game that they've ever put out. And like I think that like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart looks better too, but you know me, I like those hyper stylized graphics. In fact, I think Hi-Fi Rush probably even visually is more appealing to me personally.
Right.
But like as far as like that high end, super visually like this looks better than like anything I've seen on the market in that regard. Like
And
absolutely insane.
I want to make this point too. I said it in the chat before the show started. Ninja Theory, they put out Bleeding Edge. Hellblade's coming out in just a little over a month, and they're also working on Project Mara. Like the studio's putting out games like since their acquisition, and I'm just like, it's nice to see a studio be like on like just doing their job on the spot, like just cranking out these games, quality games too, mind you. So
I wanted to touch on the guy leaving. I can't think of his name. He
Oh.
was the lead writer, one of the
yes.
co-founders of the studio.
Tamina Antoniades.
Yes, I reacted poorly to his leaving online, and people can look at that. And I reacted poorly because of not that he was leaving, but because like how strangely it was not announced. When higher ups leave, usually there's a big hubbubaloo, you know, of everyone saying goodbye. And we found out because reporters noticed he wasn't there, and Microsoft commented that he wasn't there. And so like my first reaction was, oh my god, did something like horrible HR happen? Right? Like did something like screwed up happened? Like did this guy that I thought did like cool work in the past like actually do something terrible and leave the company? Nah, my dude's just chilling, and he was like, I wanted to leave like several years ago, but like I decided to stay and make sure that like the studio was in good hands and this shit could get off the ground. It's like, oh, okay, this is just, you're a strange guy, and of course your exit of the company has to be freaking strange and like not make sense. And so like and people know I purposely leave up all of my tweets unless someone specifically asks me to take something down because they don't want themselves to be in it. You know, like if I posted something about someone and they ask me, hey, can you take this down? I that's the only time I take stuff down, because I like there to be a record of me admitting I was wrong about things. And like you can actually like go back and see it. And so like I'll fully admit I overreacted there 100%. But I wasn't even like, oh, Microsoft bad kind of thing there. I was like, oh my god, like what happened here? Right? Like, did Microsoft have a huge dispute with this guy? Did this guy was this part of like the HR troubles that we saw at like other studios where like there was some which there was one of the studios that had some, I think it was Undead Labs had some like actual HR problems. I was like, oh my god, did something like screwed up happen here? Like what happened? Why was this so hush hush? And like I did overreact there, but like come on, it was weird. You know, whenever like any kind of person like this leave, it's always like a huge hullabaloo of like goodbye, thank you for your service, you know, whatever. And this was just like, oh yeah, he's been gone for a while.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And so like, you know, but I'll fully admit I was wrong there. But like, yeah, like, and like his words were like, yeah, I got my money, I left, I wanted to leave before, but I wanted to make sure everything was in the right hands, and he was very happy that it is, and so like, cool, good.
All right. Yeah, no, it's good that you touched on that. Yeah, he's just moving on, doing other things from the looks
he
of
runs a massage parlor now.
Ooh la la.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, good perspective there, Crusader. I'll get some other guys' thoughts on this. General MLD, I'll go to you, and then Eric Shockley. MLD, yeah. Obviously you heard what Crusader had to say. What are your thoughts on the previews for Hellblade 2?
Well, I'm very, very excited for this game. Hellblade 1 was a personal favorite of mine. It just it really blew me away. The how it tells a story. Even the puzzles were nice. The combat there was times where it's just like you're really on the edge of your seat, like trying to just scrape by, and it's nice to see that they really took it up a notch. some people say that combat was Hellblade 1's it wasn't its strong suit, but it clearly looks much more polished now. I actually like the one-on-one kind of thing where it's just this is your focus. The guy's coming at you with all he has, and this game is what I really like about Hellblade. You're not this overpowered character. You're trained, like you have skills, but these guys are Vikings. They're bigger and stronger than you. You have to be extra careful. You have to be extra fierce just to get by, and it shows. And I love that about this game. So clearly the polish and the years have paid off. The previews also show confidence in the game. People were saying, why isn't this game being marketed? Well, I feel like this is going to be a first step in that.
I was wrong on that. That was also me the day before.
Right, yeah. You gotta have a little faith in these things.
I am still frustrated you can't pre-order it.
I know.
You physically can't buy the game right now. I don't know what they're doing if they're looking for money. Sell it.
Right, okay, that might be my one thing there. But otherwise, it always struck me that this game would have a condensed marketing cycle because it's not mass market appealing as well. But I always felt like it was going to get a blitz. And this preview burst will be the first step in that. So all that aside, the game looks fantastic. I can't wait to play it. Now, 30 frames per second, I'm fine with this actually. Now, people, I'm not going to make excuses for other games that didn't have 60 frames at launch, that could have or should have, but I feel like this is one such example where it's justified. I mean, people call this game a walking sim, right? Like, I feel like if you're walking a lot, 30 frames is more than sufficient, right? I don't know. But the idea is that they're going for visual fidelity here. And it's kind of a cinematic feel as well. Like when we go to the movie theaters, it's also like 30 frames as well when we're watching a movie, and that's kind of what they want to go for with how realistic it all looks. It's like you're playing this interactive cinematic experience, and I am all for that.
Can I just interrupt too and just say that it's kind of nice too, like we have all these bloated games that take like hundreds of hours to play, and this one's only supposed to be what, like 6 hours, something like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice they're reflecting that in the cost too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That like yeah. Also, we know the price. Why isn't it for sale?
Yeah.
like my brain broke when I found out it wasn't. Right?
Right.
Because they told us the cost. Why isn't it for sale? Why tell us what?
Right. Well,
but yeah, $50 for a 6-hour game. That's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's reasonable, and a lot of us are going to play it on Game Pass. We're going to beat it within the same month it comes out. So we're essentially playing a new next generation game, well, current gen, I guess, for $17 for Game Pass Ultimate. $17 for a game that looks as gorgeous as that day one. Like, you can't get that anywhere else. Only Xbox is doing this. And if people really want 60 frames, get it on PC. We all know if you want the very best experience, you gotta get a PC. Consoles will always have their limitations. So, but the way I see it, I feel like it's better that they chose to launch a very polished, steady 30 frames than if they were to put out a 60 frames option and people like Digital Foundry, if they were to sniff out that it wasn't always stable, that's all people are going to talk about. Like, people are talking about the 30 frames now, but I feel like at launch, when the game gets glowing reviews, it's going to fall on deaf ears. This is one of those games where it's not an FPS. It's not a racing game where 60 frames is pretty much mandatory at this point. This is a slower paced, cinematic, brutal, slow paced combat, game like Hellblade 2. It fits. So this is one of those things where I trust Ninja Theory's judgment, and this game's going to deliver on all fronts. I just know it. I cannot wait to play this game. So that out of the way, I just wanted to touch on the other topics as well. The backwards compatibility making a comeback, and as well as the forwards compatibility, that was really, really good news to hear as well. Shows their commitment. It shows their commitment to hardware as well, on top of just software. And I hope it extends to older games that shouldn't cost much to relicense from the ABK catalog. So, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit later as well. I feel like their end goal is to preserve the catalog and our games library on future hardware. So, like, I'm thinking the Xbox handheld on my PC one day, because I know like Xbox PC and Xbox console, they're two different. It's two different things. But if I could one day access my Xbox console library on my PC, that would be amazing. As well as extend that to cloud in the future. Basically, let's say in 20 years, who knows where the consoles will be in 20 years? But at least we will know that our games are not just going to go poof, deleted, gone forever. They will exist somewhere in some fashion. That was what I got from this initiative that they're trying to do. They're future-proofing our games and the games that have yet to come out. So, and that is the end goal of the Xbox ecosystem, I find. It's just, all the platforms, all the time, however you want, all the options you want, right? I mean, I do get it. So that would put people's minds to rest on the fear-mongering that consoles are going to go away, and when the consoles go away, there goes our libraries. Our libraries will be sustained somehow in the future. They are going to see to that. And that's good to know. So, otherwise, what was that thing you guys talked about there?
GRR? I think that was what I talked about for the most part.
The founder, you touched
Oh,
on
the founder,
that.
yeah.
Oh yeah, him too. Oh, of Ninja Theory. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock to hear that he left as well. Like, I always saw him in previews and trailers. He struck me as this like this oddball visionary kind of guy, right? And it's unfortunate to see him go, but I feel like if it was his time to go and it was amicable, and he stuck around long enough to see his baby get out the door. I mean, yeah, he should have stayed maybe till after its launch, but it's just a month. I mean, I'm not gonna sweat the details of that. If he wanted to go, he wanted to go, but I do feel like he left at the right time if he felt that the game was where it should be. So, yeah, overall, things are they're starting to heat up for Xbox, and the games are starting to come out, and starting with Hellblade 2. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, no, well said there, General. Well said. Just a quick mention to the chat. Lotus Esprit with the $10 sticker saying wrecked. Thank you very much. Much appreciated there, Lotus. Great to see you in the chat participating. Yeah, no, good stuff there, General. Eric Shockley, buddy, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Then we'll move over to Grimes. So, Shockley, what are your thoughts on the Hellblade 2 previews? Do you agree with what the guys have been saying so far? Got any thoughts, opinions?
Yeah, for the most part, I know the whole thing right now going on in gaming, like Twitter is like, Xbox, at least like major first party games haven't been like 60 frames per second. Obviously, who knows what the hell was going on with can't even think of it now, but we know what I'm talking about. The first one, I see that it's already out of my mind that I don't. The vampire game. But then you had Starfield, but you obviously it was doing. I get it. People that don't play those games don't understand, because I think a lot of the people that were criticizing that game not being above 30 frames per second probably never played Skyrim or Fallout, so they wouldn't really understand of like, the level of freedom that you get when you play that. And especially now they're taking on like space, so that took, hey, they could have gave you a 60 F mode, but they also probably wanted to keep, and that's up to the artist or person that's making that game how they want the game to be presented. Because obviously, like, I'm playing Rebirth right now, and I am playing in 60 frames per second. But the good thing about that is most of the time the camera's far back enough that you're not noticing, because people have pointed out to, like, when you look at it, they're like, oh no, I'm not playing 60. Like, because when they look at it, sometimes faces look kind of janky. Just because that game is doing a whole lot, and it's big, open, not necessarily open world, but like it has big open spaces of like certain like hubs that you're in. So if you want to do a 60 FPS and you have all these different spells and shit going off from other characters that you can just switch to on the fly, for it to do that, sometimes you have to like, hey, whatever the camera's not kind of focusing on here, we're going to kind of, dumb this down so we can give you, what you need to see, because the camera's a little bit further back, so you're not noticing it. But if you're going to try to like look for it and not actually play the game, sure, you might see some like jankiness in the faces. so there is that. But then you have a game like Hellblade, which if anyone's, please watch, especially watch it on a 4K screen, watch that YouTube clip. Notice the complete night and day difference between that and Rebirth. Rebirth looks great for what it's doing. Hellblade's not going for this giant open world, or not, again, open hub world, where you're just running through, like right now I'm playing Rebirth, I'm just like running through stuff trying to get to next point because there's so much I want to do and I don't have as much time to play. So, but I'm noticing the environment looks good, but again, the camera's further back, whereas you see in the trailer, like it's intimate. It's more like, it literally looks like you're watching a movie because it's, you're taking in the world a lot more than you would be with, a game like Rebirth, where you're just kind of like taking in, but like it's, you're zoomed out. You're not seeing all the detail. So it's just a completely different game, kind of like God of War. Like you can just say that with like God of War. God of War at the first, when it dropped, wasn't 60 frames per second. It probably should have, but that's not what they were going for. And in that game, I would say in a game like that in Hellblade, it's 60 frames per second. Sure, it'd be nice, but it's not like as needed. Like because I'm playing the 60 FPS mode with Rebirth, but in a game like that, the action is like it's starting to make me sick if I was playing 30 frames on that, because there's so much, the camera's moving around because it's further back too. So when you're like zooming around it, it's just like a picture show. You're not getting that as much as like if you're like right behind the character, because the camera, you're not moving the camera all around where it's just like a stutter, screen. It's literally right behind your person, so your view is a lot more, focused in. So I don't think it's going to be as much of a problem, and you're going to be taking in kind of like, I think we all played the Matrix demo. Wasn't that 30 FPS, but that like high def thing that looked real as fuck. But it to get games to look that fidelity, and I get it's a choice. Now maybe they should have, spent the time to make a 60 FPS mode. Now that mode may have completely disrupted what they were doing, like visually. Like they could maybe, because you could see what they're going for. I don't see any other games that are looking like that. And we'll see when we get to play it, and maybe her face gets janky in some areas, like some other games that we see where that happens. But I don't expect that. We haven't seen any instances in the preview, and I get it, it's a preview, but we saw that, and you can literally watch that in Horizon Forbidden West. Even in their preview, they made, not somebody else playing it, where you could look for it. When she jumps on the glider, when they shut off that preview, her, because that one's more actiony, game. You're doing way more movement than you would in like a God of War or Hellblade. And when she jumps on the glider, her face, the like the resolution on her face just drops. And if you looked at her face and like but you're not focusing on that because it's a fast motion. But if you paused it right there, her face, again, it's stuff that the gamer is not going to, the person playing is not going to see. So that's the tricks that, devs do to make sure to give you the optimal performance that, if you're actually playing the game, you're not even going to notice. So hopefully that's where Digital Foundry did make a good point with some of the games that, hey, a game can be 30 frames per second, but how is the pacing? If the pacing's really good, you might not have a problem. But if the pacing's bad and the frame starts jumping and it's not, a solid locked 30 frames per second, then that's going to be different. So hopefully they nail it, and visually it looks stunning. So, and I haven't noticed the jittery, from on screen, because you could literally see it, whether or not the controller's in your hand or not. If you're playing like Rebirth and you're just moving the camera right behind your character, like it's like stuttering, whether you're, so you're watching your, friend play it. So hopefully, and I haven't noticed that in this, so hopefully that's, I don't feel any of it with the controller either, but I understand we want 60 frames per second for everything, but I get it. It's a smaller dev studio. Maybe Microsoft still needs to go in there and give them more help to do that, but I don't know. It's a choice. We'll see how it, comes out, what the reception is, but I mean, at least they're going for that. I think there's less criticism on that than Starfield, because Starfield, you're not going to know about what you can do with all these different items. Like where they showed they showed off like the 1,000 sandwiches in one room, which is ridiculous. But I don't think that comes across to everybody gaming wise. Whereas visually, when something's stunning, that jumps across to, I think, anybody, casuals. People are going to look at the game and be like, holy shit, that's a video game? Like, that might actually draw a lot more people than, like, Starfield showing off that, hey, I can steal 1,000 sandwiches and put them on my spaceship. And sure, like, from a technical perspective, if you're looking at that might be impressive, but more of a casual gamer is going to get drawn towards the visual appeal of, like, holy shit, that game looks ridiculous. Like this looks like, I would say that's probably the best game we've seen visually, like, period. So it has that draw so I think that might be a plus for them. So I think that's plus it's going to be on Game Pass. That's ridiculous. The game looks like that, and it's going to be on Game Pass day one. So I think they got a definitely big winner, and the price is lower even if you had to buy it. So we'll see, but I think that's the differences that people get lost in right now, where it's like, hey, give us a 40 FPS mode, which would be cool if they could at least do that, because the VRR is superior on the Xbox, where it can actually use that. Whereas I think the PS5 has to have it like a 45 or higher to actually.
If it's 46.
Theirs isn't as good as Digital Foundry.
It's the raw HDMI 2.1 implementation, whereas Xbox has the HDMI 2.1 implementation plus a concept called LFC.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see on that. I think, that was weird that the lead guy left. But I mean, I guess that's the good thing, is that there wasn't like a big whole thing about it of him leaving. So that means it's probably on good terms, and obviously he's going to be a masseuse, so it's not. he got a big payout, and he had the people in place, and he's been, with this whole project, for years now. So it's coming. It's almost out. So, like, all his direction that wanted to help start it, to put his imprint on it, he's done that. So I don't think anybody should be, scared. Like they have talented people there. So, I'm not too worried about that. Same with Tango Gameworks. Like, sure, Shinji Mikami left, but he also hadn't directed a game since the original Evil Within. I think a lot of people think he did the second one. He didn't. The guy that did the past two games, I always forget his name, but he did Hi-Fi Rush, and he did Evil Within 2. So obviously Shinji Mikami. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So obviously Shinji Mikami picked this guy and, was a fan of his work because he let him carry over his, IP or his newest IP that he had made. And then still, Hi-Fi Rush was before I think probably, I'm sure that started development before like Microsoft came in. So, obviously he's approving of his work. So I don't know. Both those scenarios, unless there's like a big blow up where it's like Amy Hennig leaving Naughty Dog, that was a big blow up, and people were like, oh shit, that's a big piece of it. The writing is, and some of the story elements of Uncharted, that's a big piece. We don't want to lose that. Obviously they're okay as well because they have still a lot of talent there. It wasn't just her. But yeah, as far as the backwards compatibility, that's definitely a good thing that they're especially after this past scare with people thinking like, hey, are they getting out of the hardware business? Are they going full third party? Is that going to mean less Xboxes? So then less people buying it. So then naturally it'll be like this death spiral where the hardware dwindles even more. So I think they're giving that, commitment like, hey, there's no plans. And, if they need to really pivot to like drastically change something, I think they're going to. I think they have the backing of Microsoft to do whatever they need to do to keep this going. I know a lot of people just said, they're going to go full third party. Again, look at the economics of it. How are they supposed to counter the loss of all the subscriptions? Because then you don't need Game or Gold or like to play multiplayer online. You don't need any of those subs, so you lose all of those subs. You probably lose a huge amount of Game Pass subs, because at that point, then I could just save money. I'll buy a PlayStation. I'll just buy, either buy the games there if there's not a Game Pass sub there. Cool, I saved, an extra $500 on dropping it on a console. So they would lose so much money and revenue, and just people buying Fortnite shit on their store. Like if they basically went full third party. So, but the game preservation is really important. Because even you look at, just as a great point, we don't even think about it with new games, but hey, if you wanted the PS5 physical copy of Rebirth, or not Rebirth, Remake, PS5 copy physical edition, it's literally not just like listed on eBay, but they're literally being bought. Someone's actually completing these purchases for like $230 to buy that game for the PS5 version physical, like US copy. So it's like stuff like that. Sure, game preservation, it's all on the disc, right? Cool. But at a certain point, games, down 10 years from now, cool, you had it on physical media. That's nice, but then are we still able to go back and play that game? Or, hey, I have to go to eBay, and how much is the game worth? Oh, shit. Sure, it's on physical media, and yeah, it's from a preservation of that perspective, but if I don't want to, if it's unattainable for me to purchase, or to even just like, even if I could save up the money and buy it, but like, am I going to want to spend the money? Sure, I can save up money to buy Panzer Dragoon Saga for $1,000 for my Saturn, but am I going to do that? No. Because I could easily save up the $1,000, but then at that point it's like, well, look at all the other shit I could buy with this $1,000 and not just this one old game. So,
Hey, Sean, preach harder.
Yeah, that's what.
Preach it harder.
Every time they talk about preservation, that's the first thing they're like, well, where you guys are all about digital or the game, and I get it. They could put games on the disc, but they're just saying like, from a they're not talking. You can't talk about preservation and this. I'm like, you can, and I totally get it. But again, it's not 100% either way. Like, because even games themselves, Returnal, again, completely. Whoever bought those games when it first came out, those games are completely broken without that patch. Everybody that bought a Returnal copy for PS5, whether I luckily didn't experience too much, bad stuff, but it seemed like half the people that bought that game day one did, and I never even got to experience one of the cool features like the fallen astronaut. They didn't fix that until like after I'd already beat the game. So it's like, okay, well, So there's either way. If they put it on physical media, it doesn't mean anything if the whole game's on the disc, because so many devs are shipping the game to the stores while they're finishing developing. So the whole game's there, so you can like play it, but it may have a lot of bugs that they, were working on late and then sent in the patch and the game, not the whole finished products there. So
That happened with Jedi Survivor.
or N64 is a great point. Love the system. That's one of my favorite, consoles from my childhood. There's plenty of cartridges on there where they got a re-release because there was broken bugs in the original issue copies of them. You'll see it when you download ROMs when it says version B, version A, because they had to send in patches. So even then, when those games were all on the cartridge, you could buy one of those cartridges, and like one of the wrestling games has a bug on it. I forget what it is. I forget which one it was. But if you buy that one, you'll notice, why is this one way cheaper than the other one? Because it's broken, but the game's all on the cartridge, right? So game preservation is about making sure we still have access to the game. Years from now, we can actually, it's attainable. So it's not like, hey, Nintendo, is big on the Fire Emblem and, bringing back, and making these franchises popular. Cool. Can I go play Path of Radiance? No, because I don't have $500 to go buy a GameCube game. Fire Emblem, I want to go back and play it. It has some other cool characters. Ike, it's in Smash Brothers, main character there. I want to go back and play it. I'm going to have to, whip out $1,000 to probably go play it at this point. So, again, that's the game's all on the disc, but that game, just because they're releasing the game all on physical media, isn't preserving shit. So I'm just saying, at a certain point. But it's good. They're still reiterating that, and hopefully, it seemed kind of cryptic. You could kind of take it either way. With the, are they going to go back? She's like, they're pushing a team. I'm like, is that just a team for future preservation, or is she saying a team that might also go back and like, hey, now are there still some of the same licensing issues post Activision purchase? Maybe there isn't, but hopefully that's what she was kind of meaning with the team, because that kind of piqued my ears. And then I was like, oh, it sounds like she's just talking about Ford stuff. So I don't know if they're going to go back.
Got it as like more compatibility features as well, which could be for current stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So like more stuff
Yeah,
like
sure.
FPS boost, auto HDR, auto anisotropic filtering, stuff like that.
Yeah. It's crazy how good that Dolby Vision is on some of those retro games.
Oh yeah,
too.
it's fantastic. It's incredible. We know Hasbro wants the Transformers games back. Like they want to bring them back. Like there was that whole hubbubaloo about that, and they just brought Alpha Protocol back to GOG. So I'm kind of hoping that like maybe we'll get like 3 or 4 games, 5 games, just a smidge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one can hope, right? But, time will tell. I have a feeling we won't have to wait too long anyways. Probably get some answers in the coming months. Anything else to add, Shockley?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. Yeah, that I will say that Dolby Vision, try it out on retro games. I tried it out on, I think it was Resident Evil remake, and you can literally see the like lighting on there's like a just like, and they're kind of like what do you call it, lamps, whatever. The rendered backgrounds. So even those, when you have that digital or the Dolby Vision, a lot of times I'm just looking at a light bulb, for example, you can't see the detail because it's just kind of overblown lighting. And I applied Dolby Vision. It's like you can literally see the detail of like, the intricate parts of the light bulb that you didn't think were actually there, from when they did those old renders. So it's just shit like just small detail shit like that where the HDR makes a huge clarity difference on. I'm just like, I think I've posted it a few times, but I was just blown away of like, holy shit, I didn't even think that detail existed in that render because you can't see it either way without Dolby Vision. So it's like, that's weird.
No, good point. Good point.
Make sure you calibrate your consoles. Anyone who's using HDR, make sure you go in and calibrate your console for the average light setting of your room to actually like get that good like HDR calibration, because otherwise you'll be like, this looks okay, I guess. Good, but like you calibrate it right and colors will pop if you have a good HDR display.
All right, good to know, guys. Good tip. Good tip. All right, move on. Grimes, then Centurion, and round off with the dots. Grimes, any thoughts on Hellblade 2?
Yeah, I saw some of the previews about the game, but I'm at the point where I don't want to hear or see anything about it anymore. I'm already sold on it, so I just want to play it. You guys touched on the combat, and yeah, the changes to it are welcomed. I didn't mind the combat in the first one, but I do get the complaints, and I have to agree with what MOD said about the combat. But yeah, Senua is not an experienced fighter, and she's a character with mental health issues fighting her demons. So 1v1 system would probably make more sense than what was happening than what was in the first one. I'm also happy for all the people that worked on the game getting all those good previews. It's a great feeling when your game is getting overwhelmingly positive coverage. But also, is anyone actually surprised? It's a technical masterpiece. It's got all the bells and whistles Unreal Engine 5 has to offer. The sound design is untouched. One of the best experiences in games. It's a stunning looking game, like you guys have already mentioned. I also love the Melissa Jurgen story, the actress playing Senua. She was the studio's video editor and was a stand-in for Senua till they got an actual actor, but she was so good playing the role that they went ahead with her instead. So I just love that. And yeah, there's that endless conversation about 30 FPS that, in my honest opinion, needs eradicating. I'm just not bothered by it. I've mentioned it before, but I have a 3090 and I can play games at higher frame rate. Yet I choose not to. It's all about quality for me. I like my games to look as best as they can. I was playing RoboCop Rogue City a few weeks ago, and I had all the highest settings, ray tracing on, and that game looked beautiful. The city and environments just look stunning, and you can't get that with like higher frame rate. Also, cinematic games are best experienced at 30 FPS anyway, and like MLD touched on, that's why you don't see movies being shown at 60 or 120 frames. It would look weird. Imagine, I don't know, like Oppenheimer or Barbie at 60.
Hey, Grimes.
Yeah.
They did a movie called The Gemini Man, and it was touted at being at 40 frames a second.
I
And
remember
my wife
that,
got motion sick as hell from what I could handle it, but dude, even at 40 frames a second, movies don't look right.
Yeah, I remember that, and yeah, that was everyone's complaint that that just didn't work. So I mean, just like I was like,
it has to do with fixed angled shots versus
Yeah.
you actually controlling a character. That's why like a 24 FPS video game feels like shit.
Look, like I understand for sports, like racing, football, whatever, higher frame rate, it's fine for sports, but for cinematic experiences, I would rather have the lower frame rate.
Oh, sure.
Uh,
So that's actually why a frame rate of a movie or show, by the way, doesn't actually match the refresh rate of the TV, because it's fixed angles and there's natural motion
Yeah.
blur from moving the cameras and stuff like that, that it actually doesn't look bad. That's why games actually target 30 and not 24, because
yeah.
they have to match a divisor of the refresh rate of your console. Otherwise, it looks
Yeah.
terrible because you are controlling the movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, yeah, that's why it's 30, by the way, and not 24. Because I did see people talking about that, where like they said they're going for a cinematic look, so why isn't it 24? That's why it's not 24.
Yeah.
Because you are controlling the character, and it would be nauseating if it was that low.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 24 wouldn't
Yeah.
wouldn't work at all. But yeah, you know, like I could, like I mentioned, I can play higher FPS, but I'm still probably gonna. What I'm thinking of doing, and Crusader was actually considering it as well, was playing it on both computer on Xbox, and I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
I just don't care about the frame rate. So, like I said, quality is more important to me, and we might, who knows, we might see a patch later down the line where they made optimize some things and they managed to get 60 FPS on the consoles, but I don't think that was a priority for them right now. So yeah, not a big issue as far, you know. And as far as the co-founder, Tamim Antoniada is leaving. Yeah, very few people stay with their company after selling. So it's not a big deal. The only person I wouldn't want leaving outside of their own studio is Tim Schafer. That guy is a god and a genius. So I wouldn't want him leaving Double Fine. And I'm sure you guys have seen the news recently or today. Someone just won $1.3 billion playing the Powerball. If I was in that person's shoes or position, I would retire tomorrow. No question about that. And enjoy the rest of my life. So I'm sure Tamim just got that bag of money from Microsoft. They, like you guys already talked about it, wanted to stay until the studio was in good hands and then just set off into the sunset. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. But yeah, it's a non-issue for me.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm looking forward to Hellblade 2. FPS be damned. It looks pretty damn awesome to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to be facetious or anything. It's just
no, I mean it's an important conversation. I get it, but I feel like most of us aren't too bothered by it. But
no. I mean, yeah, I can talk about hardware, but just honestly, like it looks good to me.
And last thing that I want to say, you know, I feel like if Ninja Theory did that, you know, if they had a 60 FPS mode and then the game didn't look as good, then they will be complaining the game looks like shit, you know. So sometimes you can win with gamers.
Well,
So I feel like
Ninja Theory have been pretty consistent. They've had a couple of games on the fly. I mean, we still got Project Mara coming from them, which I am very curious about.
so am I, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, no, they've been a pretty consistent studio, so I'm not too worried about Hellblade 2. But thanks, Grimes. I'll move on to Centurion now, and then to round out with Dots. Centurion, I mean, I've been looking forward to Hellblade 2 for a while now, since it got announced. I played the original. I thought it was pretty good. Kind of curious where they're going with it, but yeah, you saw the previews, as I'm sure everybody on the panel did. What's your thoughts on it?
If I could be 100% honest, that's where I stand by. I don't live and die by what any first party studio puts out. I go, the whole reason why I'm invested in Xbox goes way beyond anything that they put out first party studio and all that other fun stuff. Different conversation. That being said, I still need to play the first game. I have been just totally distracted playing other stuff, and also with just recent events, I don't know if I'm ready to tackle something like Hellblade. Definitely need to get into Hellblade, that's for sure. Especially with the next one coming out. That one being said, though, this kind of goes into entailing with where I'm probably going to get some people and their feelings, but I'm with Grimes. The 30 frames a second conversation needs to just burn in hell, because regretfully, it is what it is. If 60 frames a second matter to you, go buy a damn PC. Consoles are never going to be on the scale of PC. Don't care about what technology is or what it looks like on paper. There is a lot more things that go into play here than like PCs are just way more flexible. Consoles are just way more restrictive. There has been this entire freaking debate, and for whatever reason, every aim that people want for some reason their console to be on par with a PC, and that's where it's kind of like the old back in the day when the Chrysler 300 GT came out, and people were like, "Oh, it looks like a Bentley." No, it's not a Bentley. It's a Chrysler 300 GT. If you want a Bentley, you got to buy a damn Bentley. So you bought a car that is a ripoff of a Bentley. You have a console, which is actually a very powerful console, but it's nowhere on par with a PC, especially with like your 4090s and all your other fun gizmos today. And that's where I also have to say, when it comes to the 60 frames a second argument, that's where I just really want to point out that the consumer base, the major consumer base, I don't care about the vocal minority on social media. I don't care about who says they know who or what this, that, and the other. The focus right now for most major gaming companies, whether it's PC or console, is the generation that grew up on streaming. There is a vast, I love it when people say nobody wants to rent their games. I really hope to God you don't have a single subscription service in your name if you're going to hold to that conversation with Game Pass and all that other fun stuff. Nobody wants to rent their games, when for whatever reason, everybody is completely complicit with streaming services, ripping you off night and day, taking away your stuff. We've got Spotify that will completely remove music out of your living room. Out of your living room, out of your libraries. We've got streaming services that will completely shut down huge swathes of content that should be honestly easy for people to replace. But it's not. If you want to go see how desperate people are for preservation of content, go check out the Stargate community and just how desperate they are for a remaster of all the television shows on Blu-ray. And they have a company that made a half-ass version using machine learning and a lot of sacrifices to it's amazing what people will go through to try to preserve something. And that being said, there's a reason why they haven't done it, and that's because there's a huge consumer base that is just fine with the status quo of not owning their content, streaming their content, and regretfully, if you were to take 100 average people and ask them if they even knew what a frame rate was, you might get a lot of confused looks. You'd probably find a couple in the crowd, but I'd be curious on the actual data of how many people even know what a frame rate is. And that's why I said the comment, if 60 frames a second is that important, then it needs to have a much larger chain. It needs to become a much bigger industry standard. And that's where, until that happens, I really just feel that, we're going to see more and more 30 frames a second content come out. And I'm just really going to be curious in the future of just how important 60 frames a second is going to be especially with the way that the gaming industry is right now, in the sacrifice of we want to pay as little as possible for as much as possible, and that maybe 60 frames a second might be put on the back burner in the name of saving money. That's just my whole conversation on 30 frames a second.
All right, no. I'm with you on that. I totally understand.
Like, I mean, like, people are just trying to preserve their jobs right now, and somebody, I forget who said it here in the conversation, you could put a commercial on television right now, and nobody would recognize a game at 60 frames a second. But if you show them the Unreal Engine metahuman stuff, where, like, I mean, you can't even tell the difference between that and actual, like, live people most of the time, that right there is mind-blowing. Like I remember back in the day when people would, like, talk about, like, eye-melting graphics, and I've never had anybody ever say eye-melting frame rates. All they really talk about, like, the major consumer base, the average person, the people that just play games for the sake of playing games because they love the art and the atmosphere of playing games, and they don't get into the politics and the weeds of all the technical mumbo-jumbo and stuff like that. And they're going to look at something like Hellblade, and they're going to be jaw-dropped.
Yeah, no, I'm there with you, man. There with you. Let's see. I want to get on to dots, and then we can move on to the next topic. But, yeah, no, well said there, Sent, as per usual. Dots, please round us off here. What are your thoughts on the Hellblade 2 previews? Agree with the guys? Got some in-depth thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I'll round it out quickly, only because I didn't actually watch it. Like I said this on a previous podcast we had about Hellblade. I'm not really looking too deep into it. I'm sure it is interesting to those who are, but I honestly have not been really, like, keeping my eye on that. I've been focusing my attentions elsewhere. So, in terms of the FPS thing, I'm kind of in the same boat as Sent. Like, the argument just needs to, stop. Get a PC if you don't want 30 FPS, and otherwise, I mean, how many people played Skyrim to death at 30 FPS? I mean, it's honestly not like I personally, I'm not a fan of 30 FPS, mostly because the games I played, that, like, if there's the choice between the two, and it's like, no, I played Destiny and Destiny 2 for the longest time at 30 FPS, and only through the grace of finally playing it on PC, and I guess on, the PS5 and Series X, which I own neither of those, playing on 60 FPS, I could never go back. So, but it's not that big of a deal. It's, to me, 30 FPS, 60 FPS, it's not going to stop me from buying a game if I'm actually interested in the game. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go long-winded on this particular one. So, yeah.
All right, fair enough, Dots. Fair enough. Short and sweet. I can appreciate that, but yeah, the game's not for everybody, but I can definitely recommend the first one. I know Sent's sitting on it right now. Probably a few others in the chat, I would imagine. Guys, I recommend it, and when everybody feels up to playing it, put on those headphones. Makes a big difference. That's why I'm gonna be playing Hellblade 2 with headphones on, because oh yeah, sounds like it has a pretty good soundtrack, and if you play the first one, you know what I mean. But yeah, guys, we will see how Hellblade 2 does. I mean, we're not too far away from it, just a bit over a month, well, month and a half, something like that, but I'm certainly looking forward to it, as are many others. All right, guys in the chat, again, you guys have been great so far. It's great seeing some new faces as well as some familiar ones. If you haven't done so already, smash the like button and share out the show. I'd love to have more people in here. Love to have a great chat going on, lively discussion. But with that said, let's move on to second topic tonight. And we're just into April, early April, but it appears as if we're starting to get some, well, let's just say meaty rumors with regards to the Xbox Game Showcase. Some articles have been pointing out, some outlets such as The Verge, they've been saying that Gears 6 is rumored to be showing off. as well as Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We'd heard that before, Avowed, and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, amongst others. And hell, even the new Call of Duty as well. Call of Duty, it's said to be all at the Xbox Game Showcase in June. So, hey, that's already looking like a pretty solid lineup. Certainly some big titles there. General MLD, I'll start off with you first on this one. What are your thoughts with this? Like, it's sounding like a pretty good show from the looks of it so far. I mean, granted, these outlets might be off, but they seem to have some pretty good sources when it comes to these things.
Oh yeah, looks like another great showcase year for Xbox. They had a great one last year. Now that they have ABK and they can put their name on anything that they do, like they have so many studios now, so many games they own, so many games in development. They literally cannot miss now. Every showcase can have any number of several announcements that they can make. And even if they're fully multi-plat or exclusive or timed exclusive, in the end, we do benefit because, we get on Game Pass, we play the games first, we get the hype. But it looks like Gear 6, that looks like the one big leak for the June showcase. I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's been 2019. We are due for a new game, at least to see it, the opening trailer. If they really want to wow us, they should include a trailer mixed with in-game cutscenes or gameplay for lucky, but it should specify all captured in-game kind of thing. So at least we'll see a cutscene or something and really wow us, because the rumors say that we're not ready to see this game for how beautiful it is. And also, yeah, because the Coalition, these guys are technical wizards. I mean, Ninja Theory is great, but there are only, 80 people making Hellblade 2? The Coalition is comprised of hundreds of people at the top of their game with Unreal Engine 5. So this will be the AAA heavy graphics game that all fans have been kind of asking for, because we see that kind of stuff with God of War or Horizon Forbidden West on PlayStation, these high budget blockbuster games. Xbox, we get great games, quality reviews, that kind of stuff, but we don't really have that kind of blockbuster AAA kind of games coming out. And Gear 6 would be the answer to that. So I'm looking forward to that. Finish off the trilogy. How they're going to handle the choices you made in Gears 5, I do not know. I hope. Yeah, because I chose...
Spoiler.
Yeah.
I chose Marcus's son to live because Marcus has been through enough as it is. So I hope...
Big spoiler there.
Oh, come on. It's 2019. I feel like people would have known by now.
Can I just say, too, that I really hope it goes back to its linear roots, personally. I wasn't a big fan of the open world aspect personally. That's just me. But
I mean, a good mix would be maybe both. Like I did kind of like it myself because it was like this hub world. You can go to the main objective straight away, or you can kind of go off to the side, explore a bit, and you do a little bit of side missions. You get some good gear that way. So maybe they'll expand on that. But there were definitely some levels in Gears 5 where they were more linear as well. But I guess we'll see. Time will tell there. So that would be like a pretty big benchmark reveal to headline the showcase there. But otherwise, release dates for Avowed, Flight Sim, Indiana Jones, that's always welcome. That's just common sense. I wouldn't call that a leak. That's just something that any reasonable gamer should expect. Shows that the games are coming along nicely, that Xbox has a firm schedule for the rest of the year. So I would like to know the release dates of those games, and how much, say, if Avowed is a holiday game, or if Call of Duty is just going to have that spotlight. I guess time will tell. But speaking of COD, that game being showcased firmly at an Xbox event, that is symbolic to me more than anything. It shows that it's back home, just like in the 360 days. Even if it sells more on PlayStation, the fact that Xbox owns Call of Duty, that Xbox is the home of it, that is that sends a message out there when only Xbox showcases will have Call of Duty and not Sony's showcases. So, and if they really want to impress us, really want to get the people going, say it's day one on Game Pass. Like, really confirm it. And everyone's gonna go nuts. Because that will be a kind of game that will get people to subscribe to Game Pass. Like, just knowing that you could play the same game for $17 as opposed to $70 up front. That kind of thing. So that would make some big waves if they did it right. And now I'm thinking about ABK. They'll probably leverage them in some capacity. Because, I mean, we're 6 months after the acquisition, more or less, right? Diablo 4 is the only game that landed on Game Pass. So I feel like we're bound to get some kind of drop at the showcase. I don't think they'll do everything. I think they'll do a lot of something. Like, maybe all the 360 Call of Duties all at once. Or the prototypes, Spyro's, Crash Bandicoots, Tony Hawk. Maybe some of those games as well. But not everything. But like a good chunk to show you that they have been, in fact, integrating them. And they are working on it. So that would be a nice free PR. It'd be a nice sprinkle there. I hope they do the 360 Call of Duty games. Because you want to get some hype going. Get people playing Call of Duty games before the new one comes out in November. Show that you get the nostalgia going. People will play the 360 games all over again. That's just free word of mouth right there. That it's an easy win for Xbox. But so I mean that's what the leaks talked about. Again, aside from Gear 6, it's pretty much common sense of what to expect. I'm more concerned about what else hasn't been announced yet, because everything like release dates for games we already know about, Gear 6 teaser, Call of Duty, that feels like maybe a quarter of the show runtime, maybe. I'm thinking about id Software, State of Decay, like seeing more of that.
Software was also id Software was teased by Nate the Hate, and State of Decay was teased by Jez.
Yes.
Yeah, I
and
remember.
we heard about Double Fine was teasing before earlier this year too. There's more than a few studios that Xbox owns that have been far too quiet for far too long, and I think it's about time for them to make themselves seen, and I think they will. So there's just a lot cooking right now, and and there's so much announced as it is. Throw in some third-party games, some day one drops, maybe like an indie montage. And you have a solid showcase on your hands. Like show some day one games from third-party developers. Game Pass Ultimate perks, like how Persona 3 got the Season Pass. Like really drive home that value. Keep doing that. Keep making the subscribers happy there. So overall, I think the mood is going to shift. Because I'm not blind to how social media is right now. PlayStation has had a lot of exclusives from January to April. I think Stellar Blade will be the last one. But after that, it's going to start to look mighty dry for them. Because they said themselves that they're not going to have a major first-party game until early next year. So why they blew through all their exclusives in the first 4 months, I don't know. I don't want to know. But the point is, Xbox has been looking dry now, but starting from Hellblade in May, it's going to pick up and things will change. Perspectives will change. Because they said they have 10 games releasing this year. Games ranging from, the big games like Avowed or Indiana Jones, but also smaller games like Age of Mythology or Aura History Untold. Games ranging from, AAA to single A. It's all going to start from May. And they're going to show us that there's going to be a steady cadence of Xbox first-party games, culminating with Call of Duty for the holidays. So I think we're going to see that, and the sour, divided mood that we kind of see right now, it's kind of going to go away, I find. It won't, not completely, because people will still be thinking to themselves, which games are going to come over to PlayStation in the future? And that'll always linger, I guess. But the fact is, these games are made for us, Xbox fans, first and foremost. Whether or not they go somewhere else in the future, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We are getting the first-class treatment. We are getting great games. And that's what we've always wanted in the end. We wanted more first party, a steady stream of games, and that's exactly what we're going to get. And I know they're going to deliver in June. So that's it.
All right, well said there, MLD. Yeah, I mean, you listed off quite a few things there that could be there, and yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a whole bunch of those titles as well. I mean, damn, oof, yeah, I would love to see what they have in store. Let's see, going over to Dots, buddy. Again, we got some interesting news here. MLD was just kind of laying it out for us. The Verge saying Gear 6, along with Indiana Jones, Avowed, a few other titles, some Call of Duty. I don't know, anything there catch your eye? Think it could be possible? Like, what's your thoughts on this?
Obviously, Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to be peak gaming in 2024.
Right?
I mean, power to the people who love Microsoft Flight Simulator. What they did last year, they had the Pelican from Halo, and then like the Omnithopters from Dune, I believe. They had some pretty cool
The
stuff.
Pelican from Halo was actually 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, the Dune or the Ornithopter from Dune was, I think, either last year or the year before.
Okay. Yeah, that was I mean, they always do something cool and creative with that. So I mean, that, power to the people who play on that and have fun with that.
Oh, last year was Top Gun.
See, I never thought about that because I got a Top Gun DLC in my Ace Combat game, so I was pretty content in that regard. I wasn't looking at other game franchises when it came to Top Gun content, but I mean, hey, every flying game should have an F-14 or an F-18. No, for me, I'm definitely keeping an eye on Avowed. I've been getting more and more interest in that. Gears, as much as I love I won't say I love the franchise for what it is. Unfortunately, I have not played a Gears game since 3, so I'm kind of really behind on that train. But I mean, I guess the coal train is always, always chugging along. But no, there's a lot of good things that could come, and I think General hit a lot of good spots. And I mean, he said Age of Mythology, so like, that got my neurons firing. You know, right now, I'll copy what you said, General. Like, that they are just dropping absolute wins at each of these showcases, and it doesn't have to be an Xbox exclusive. It doesn't have to, be first party. But every time that the showcases, even if they're not, A+ grade showcases, there is something for everyone. They are hitting so many different genres that, the first person shooter guys get their fix. The strategy gamers, whether it be turn-based or real-time, get their fix. And then there's all those weird niche games that kind of fit in there. But like they every single game that I've seen has a home. Obviously the main look forward to any showcase is for the Silksong fans to put on their clown makeup and get to speculating. Even though we did get Silksong on the store page, so I know that got them all freaking out.
Well, we know who's getting DDoS tonight.
Let them come.
That's what I was just
Let them
gonna
come. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Like I mean, like I might not have kept up with the announcements with Hellblade, but like when these showcases hit, I've been watching, and I've been watching a lot more recently than in previous years, because I have been seeing Xbox has been putting in the work and has been putting out the product. And anyone who says that Xbox is dead and has no content or no games is talking out their ass. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I hate the whole console war thing, but like all these all the Sony people who are attacking Xbox saying that the console's dead, that has nothing. I can't believe it. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, haven't
so,
you heard Xbox is dead?
Yeah, no, Xbox is dead. Like that
Yeah,
was
Xbox
that was
has nothing I want to play. I'm gonna go on my PlayStation and play Sea of Thieves.
no, but like, like
Right?
I know you didn't want to. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the topic, but like the second you mentioned about the rumors of Xbox, buying Square Enix, like the first thing I saw is, oh, why would Square Enix get want their stuff on a dead console? I'm like, they just put Final Fantasy 14 onto Xbox, like.
Yeah, why would PlayStation fans care? I thought Xbox was third party, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna get the game anyway, right?
Or
Really makes
the same PlayStation fans that are saying we want Xbox to get Helldivers 2 because we need more men to clear Malevelon Creek and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, it's redonkulous. But no, so once again, these showcases have been absolute wins for Microsoft, and I am excited regardless of the content because I know that at least one game will pique my interest, and that's all that needs to happen. And the fact that how many showcases have we had this year? Like this will be like the what showcase
for Xbox?
Yeah,
Second or third?
Second. Third. Okay.
So we had Dev Direct, third party
Yeah.
third party
And their
direct.
business.
Third
And their
direct.
business.
Yeah, but they didn't show anything there. So,
Well,
like,
they've had a few things, but
Yeah.
I mean, the June showcase is the big daddy.
But yeah, so like, okay, so if this is going to be the third big one, like, I mean, unlike Crusader, who plays over 30 games and we only just got into the second quarter, I'm usually content playing like the same 2 or 3 games for a whole year. So the fact that every showcase I've at least seen one game that piques my interest, that that checks my boxes. So like I'm in a good spot, and that's not even including games that I don't know about yet that could be coming out, because like I'm still waiting for Space Marine 2. I'm still waiting for that.
Oh yeah.
And so like that's still on the docket. I know that's going to be, unless they delay it to next year, but so like on top of that, I already know, Aura History Untold, like that's definitely on my docket. Me and Crusader love our Civ games. Like obviously Age of Mythology. Oh, I'm ready. I'm coming for you. I'm coming home. Like I'm excited. There's stuff coming out, and I will get to play the games I enjoy. Like it's fantastic. And every single showcase, there's at least been one thing that I've seen that's like, that's for me. And I know that's the case for every other person who watches it. And if they deny it, then they just don't have a good taste for any genre of game, it seems. So yeah, no, I'm excited, and I think there's a lot of good stuff that's going to be coming from this June. And I'm sure we'll get more rumors and whatnot as we get closer, and we'll get to, we'll have another episode and we'll talk about, the more, justified rumors or leaks or whatnot of what's going to be shown at the showcase. But until then, my excitement's there, and I can't wait to see what they throw at us and, tell us, hey, we have this really good content for this really good console and this really good Game Pass. You don't need to open your wallet too much, just a little bit. Just a little, let the flies come out of the wallet, but we don't need everything out of your wallet. Because that's what Game Pass is for.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is a little more predictable now. You got Call of Duty, a couple of other things, so but like that. But
I have my gripes about Call of Duty, especially since I have not seen Microsoft's like push on Activision to do something better with it, because I haven't honestly seen that much good news out of Activision Blizzard.
It's still
since the
early on.
acquisition.
It's still early on.
It is still early on. It sucks because all I've seen is potentially they're cleaning the swamp, but they're cleaning like the top layer of it and not the entire thing. So like, I don't know. But that's not the topic at hand today. I'm excited for June. There's a lot of good stuff coming, and yeah, no, it's I think we are in a very, very good place right now.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good there, Dots. I'll go to Grimes, then Shockley, then Centurion. Grimes, again, same question to you, but obviously these reports coming from The Verge and other outlets about these rumored titles at the showcase, the June showcase, like Gear 6, Indiana Jones, and so on. What are your thoughts on them? Would you be excited for this list of games?
Yeah, I'm excited, but I'm keeping my expectations grounded. Honestly, we've already seen some of the games teased. That and we knew what was going to be. So like we've seen games like Flight Simulator. We knew it was going to be coming this year, and we were expecting it for the June showcase. We knew we were going to see more of Avowed since it's coming this year. It will be interesting to see if they've worked on the feedback regarding the combat. That was a lot of people's main complaints, that the melee combat didn't look that good. Didn't bother me really, but it will be interesting to see what improvements they bring to June. Do we need to see more of Indiana Jones? Probably not. A cinematic trailer with a release date should be good enough for me. Then, of course, there's the rumor, you guys already touched on it, Gears 6 making an appearance at the showcase. We've known for quite some time that they were working on that game, so it was inevitable that we would see it this year. It was going to be either June or at the Game Awards, but it was going to be this year where they teased it. I know to most Xbox fans, Halo is the Xbox game. It is the game that put Xbox on the map, after all. But for me, the most important Xbox franchise is Gears. That's the game that made me get the 360. I was blown away by how good that game looked. Graphics, combat, the cover mechanics, which inspired so many other games later. It was everything I wanted to. And actually, if you go back to the 360 version of Gears of War 1 today, it still holds up graphically. That's the magic of Unreal Engine. It was developed on Unreal Engine 3, bad boy. So that engine has always pushed the limits of what's possible. So anyway, hearing anything Gears related is always good news. Part of me would have liked to see what that other project Coalition were working on. It looked interesting, or it sounded interesting, but I'm not gonna complain with more Gears. And what to expect from Gear 6? Well, I would assume that there won't be any open world areas this time around. I didn't actually mind the open world area as much as some other players, but I must admit that it just made no sense whatsoever. So I think they'll just abandon that idea. and without going into spoiler territory like someone else, MOD, towards the end.
2019, guys.
I mean, that's still 2019. It's not that far away. It's not like Final Fantasy VII.
That is 5 years of more kids allowed to drink alcohol.
But I'm just saying, like people's backlog. I mean, like it's massive these days, But anyway, doesn't matter.
Oops.
Towards the end, yeah, you have to. The story just makes a complete left turn. From the rest of the game that caught every player by surprise. So it will be interesting, like you guys already touched on, how, if at all, they resolve those issues. Other than that, I'm sure we expect more of the same. Coalition are the best in the business. Certainly one of Xbox's most important studios. So I trust them to make another quality Gears of War experience. I also expect us to finally see what Perfect Dark is all about. We'll most definitely see something regarding State of Decay, I assume. But that game has been in development for so long that I'm sure they'll show us at least a small glimpse of what that game is all about. Fable, I'm sure we'll see some more gameplay of Fable. I was already sold just by the humor of that game. But sure, give us a 2-minute gameplay trailer and I'll be happy. We'll most definitely see Compulsion's South of Midnight. Will Contraband and Everwild make an appearance? I don't know, but I would hopefully, because I would like to see more about those games. They both sounded interesting to me, so yeah, I want to see more from them or more about them. But anyway, I feel like we know quite a lot about what will feature at the June showcase. We also know, like you guys already talked about, Activision will feature heavily during the showcase. I can see them not announcing more games coming to Game Pass. One game that I would like to see announced this year, it's the Tony Hawk remake. I've been tempted to buy it so many times, but it's now owned by Microsoft, so it will come to Game Pass eventually. So I'm gonna wait it out. And yeah, like you guys have already mentioned, I'm more interested in seeing all the games we know nothing about. And seeing, like I know we already talked about id, such a talented studio. I can't wait to see what they're cooking. And the rumored handheld, would love to see if it's actually a thing. We'll find more about that in just a few months. I mean, June is just around the corner, so we don't have too long to wait. And yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Some well thought out things there. Some new stuff that you brought up. Very interesting, Grimes. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a lot of these games that we first found out about in like 4 years ago. So yeah, I'm there with you, man. All right, Eric Shockley, you're up next. Then Centurion, and to round off everybody, Crusader. Shockley, yeah, what's your thoughts on this, what The Verge and some other outlets are reporting? Gear 6, Avowed, Flight Simulator, Indiana Jones, COD gonna be at the June showcase. Pretty good start, you think?
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, hopefully it'll be some cool stuff that they'll show from Activision that's not just Call of Duty. That'd be cool. Or announce something that, just something that we might surprise us. But it'd be really cool to see not just an announcement or just like a slight teaser, like show at least something with Gears, or maybe something with it could be kind of like what they did for the I think it was one of the first trailers we got for like Gears 5, where it kind of showed us a little bit of a story trailer. So it could be even something like that. So but yeah, definitely show some more about hopefully Indiana Jones, and then trying to think. Oh yeah, definitely think someone had mentioned before Perfect Dark, so it'd be really cool if we actually get a glimpse of that. So since it's been so long, and we've only haven't heard too much about it since then. So other than new devs taking it on. So but yeah, not sure. Was there anything else more rumored that I'm missing?
The big ones were State of Decay, id's next, Gears, and like the rest of them are games that are coming out this year. So duh.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's about it. But if they hit all what I just kind of laid out, that's the solid show. So.
All right.
Does anyone remember that 2D cyberpunkish game that got announced several years ago?
Oh,
I forgot the name of it.
Such an R.
Yeah.
It was like Blade Runner-ish as well.
Replaced or yes.
I replaced, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that it's coming this year.
It's supposed to.
Yeah, so and it was announced at the Xbox showcase many years ago, so hopefully it makes a return.
2021. It was supposed to come out in 2022, but then Ukraine got invaded, and they were a Ukrainian studio, and
yeah. So.
Oh yeah, Stalker 2.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if we get to see some of that.
They'll probably show
year,
something.
please.
No,
it
it's
has
supposed
a date. It has a date.
September.
Yeah,
It's
this
September.
it's I'll get the exact date. It's September something. I want to say like September 21st.
Oh, thank God.
September 5th.
Okay, that's okay.
Is the
That's
date.
solid. They're gonna, then they'll have a solid year if they hit that Avowed, Hellblade,
Also,
Stalker 2,
Arc 2 as
Indiana
well.
Jones. If they all hit that this year, that's solid. So.
Mm-hmm.
God, I forgot Arc 2 is coming out.
That's right. Yeah, thanks, Shockley. Thanks for that. Centurion, why don't you put in your 2 cents here, and then Crusader will round us off. Cent, again, we got a few games here listed off by The Verge from what they're hearing. Gear 6, yeah, I talked about it a bit. Indiana Jones, Avowed, Flight Sim, Call of Duty. Anything you're particularly excited about here, or maybe something else that you're kind of just, hoping gets a release date that we know of?
I guess to make this short and sweet, for starters, when it comes to the gaming media, at this point they don't have my respect, and I ain't gonna listen to a damn thing that comes out of their mouth. And I'm just trying to take that stance on. I think with the way the gaming media has reacted so far in 2024, blowing stuff out of proportion, creating fear mongering, and also having the double standards that they do, they don't need my freaking eyes on their freaking advertisement revenue. And I'm going to say it right now. Any one of us could put out the kind of content that the gaming media is, and we don't even have these supposed sources. Let's really look at it objectively, because MLD said it. Everybody's been saying it so far. There is a lot to digest already for the Xbox brand. We have stuff coming from the Activision deal. I'm very curious on how that's going to unfold, purely because we all know that there is a CMA liaison that they have to answer to, and that they just can't go buck wild and start trying to show any form of anti-competitiveness or an I gotcha moment for the FTC. So that's where they're obviously going to deliver on Activision. I'm just curious on how exactly it's going to roll out without, basically, people with their freaking regulator sniper rifles looking for anything at all when it comes to that. But let's also look like, at least for me on my side, you know, yeah, Gears 6. We all saw that Unreal Engine 5 demo with a character that they were like, oh, this has nothing to do with Gears, even though the character looks like he's out of Gears. I've already been hyped for Gears 6. I enjoyed Gears 5. I made my decision at the end of the game, and I'm curious how that's going to unfold too. Definitely for sure. But also, like somebody mentioned South of Midnight. There is a number of games, like for me at least, names I haven't heard yet are like Clockwork Revolution. That'd be a fun one just
Yes.
because I mean, dude, BioShock vibes all the way. I would love to know what's going on over at Undead Labs with State of Decay 3. Because I played the hell out of State of Decay 1 and 2. Just as a whole, I'm just curious more about what the Xbox brand has going behind the scenes, because we talked earlier, Sarah Bond talked about a a division, a team that's going to start working on the preservation of games. I'm curious on what does that mean, because even Shockley pointed that out. Are we talking the preservation of games that were, or games that are currently are, and we're going to try to keep them going forward? But like all in all, no matter what, I'm going to be tuning into the event with an open mind, and I'm going to have excitement because at the end of the day, I'm just happy to see gaming obviously getting a big leg up on people, especially as the years go by, because we all, remember we grew up as kids and basically in being told that video games would amount you to nothing, and that basically they're an immature hobby and all this stuff, and now they rival the music and the television, the music and entertainment industry combined. And so therefore I'm just going to be excited to keep seeing uh the the gaming industry as a whole still cranking out stuff for me to consume as a gaming fan. And I'm not going to get lost in the details. And I'm not going to, like I said, let some gaming media site once again, try to perpetuate something. And if by some chance it doesn't come to fruition, they're going to play the poo poo on you freaking card. And then they're just going to tear Microsoft down because they didn't meet their expectations. And that's why I'm just going to form my own opinions and expectations.
No, that's fair enough. And I'm actually really glad you brought up Clockwork Revolution, because that's one that, again, I'm really looking forward to. I mean, there's quite a few games I'm looking forward to, but specifically from like Microsoft Studios, like Clockwork Revolution's like, yeah, that one actually looked pretty far along, and I think that'll be coming a lot sooner than what people think. So, really looking forward to that. No, thanks, Sent. Thank you very much for that. I really value your thoughts and opinions. Crusader, please round us off here with your thoughts. I mean, obviously, you've heard everyone else's spiels here. Yeah, Gear 6, Indiana Jones. Again, that's what's been reported anyways, a few others. Yeah, what's your thoughts so far on the showcase?
Gear 6 is really interesting because Gears 6, the first we had heard about it like this week was on it was actually on Era. I hate Reset Era, but anyone knows Shinobi. Shinobi is a social media manager for, I forget what studio. I think it's like Wushu Studios.
Wushu, yeah.
Yeah, and every once in a while, he comes out of the clockwork when fans are talking about something and just says something and disappears. And it's almost always something really exciting, right? I remember when he did it with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, right? Where we hadn't heard news in it for forever and people were bitching about it on Era. And he goes, guys, you can wait one more weekend. And everyone was like, wait, what? And then they announced it the next week, right? And so this time on Era, he appeared and, because everyone was talking about how good Hellblade looks, like how incredible it looks. And he just came on Era and was like, you ain't seen nothing until you see the next Gears of War. And everyone was like, hold up. What? And from what I can gather, why the Gears of War is being reported in the way it is because it actually appeared at a cross studio kind of summit where they were showing off vertical slices of upcoming games, like between the studios and things like that.
Mhm.
And Gears 6 was evidently shown. And that's why things in the industry sometimes, when people are really proud of their work, it kind of goes around to various developers, and like you'll hear shit like this where they'll be talking about stuff, but like you'll never see it. You see it happen a couple times, and it's very clear that like developers and their friends have like seen stuff. And in this case, it looks like Gears of War has been seen, and the Coalition has been doing their stuff. And from what I understand, it like at that event that like they even talked about like kind of showing it at some point this year, and that's why a lot of the reports actually haven't. Some of the reports have been like, yes, it's planned to be shown this year at this showcase. Some of them have been like, it's planned to be shown this year. Because I think that it depends on like when the game's coming. Like if the game, because Phil gave a great guideline to how they kind of look at their shows, and like the Dev Direct is supposed to be stuff that's coming out within the next like 12 months, maybe 15. Whereas the Xbox Showcase is anything that's coming out in the next like 12 to like I think he said up to like 3 years at the absolute latest. Like they don't want to go too far out with the June showcase anymore. And then the stuff that's real far out is the Game Awards. Though I could see something, if Gears of War 6 is as visually impressive as like they're saying it is, I could actually see that being held for the Game Awards with like all them eyes, you know? But yeah, Gears 6 showing up at the June showcase seems like it could be something that will clearly happen. Nate the Hate, who got a lot of information correct about the Xbox's plans to move multi-platform, got Starfield wrong, but corrected himself before Microsoft said anything, because he upon reviewing stuff from other sources, determined that he was wrong about the Starfield stuff before Microsoft said anything about it. When it comes to him knowing stuff, I generally align myself with he's a more accurate source than not. And he was saying that he had heard that id was going to be there. I believe it was him. It could have been also like Shinobi showing up again with id, but I believe it was Nate that said id was going to show up there with their next game. And it's very interesting because I've had some conversations with Jez in the past about what id's next game is, because we know from the court documents that leaked last year that Doom 0 year was listed in the documents, but Jez isn't sure if that was actually a project that ever got greenlit, like if that even actually exists, or if that was just something that like at the time that the document was made, which was during the ABK, not the ABK acquisition, it was during the ZeniMax acquisitions, like in 2020. It was information from there. So like id's next game could be like another Doom. It could be a Quake, because their hirings implied that they were looking for someone with more kind of like fantasy stuff, and that fits Quake's bill a lot more. It would also fit a Hexen more, and Phil started teasing Hexen like almost immediately upon the Activision Blizzard deal, which got me into thinking that maybe even if that deal didn't go through, like a licensed Hexen between Activision and like Microsoft was going to happen, and like that would be the studio to do it, because that's like the same style game as Doom and Quake, right? So
I feel like Night Dive is a good studio that did that. They did Quake 2, and they also actually volunteered to do Hexen.
It depends on what we're talking about, right? Are we talking about a remaster of Hexen, or are we talking about a modern Hexen? Because Night Dive would do an excellent remaster of the old Hexens, but like, are we talking that, or are we talking like a Quake and a Hexen that are in the style of Doom 2016 and Eternal, right? And id would kill it. You know what I mean? Like, it would be freaking fire if id was given Hexen. And I've honestly thought that like his teasing of Hexen's return was kind of independent of the Activision Blizzard deal kind of solidifying, because like you could tease that either way. You know what I mean? In one way, it would be totally yours, and the other way, yeah, we're licensing the IP from Activision, but like we're still making it, you know. And that would also fit that kind of fantasy style hiring at id. And State of Decay, I haven't played either of the first two. I kind of want to, but I don't. I never have. They've looked interesting, so like, I don't have an opinion really on State of Decay 3. But that was teased by Jez on Twitter. That wasn't in an article or anything. And like, I'm still not even sure if he was directly teasing it, but like, he does this shit, and where he puts like he basically, it's like stenography. He hides messages in messages. And he words things very carefully so that words have meaning, and he used the word state in it. And that leads me to believe that he was referencing State of Decay there. As for games that like were reported to be there and like I think are just kind of like not even worthy of mentioning that they're going to be there because it's kind of obvious that they have to be, would be Flight Sim 24, as it is Flight Sim releasing in the year 2024. Like, kind of has to be there. Avowed is supposed to release this year as of the Dev Direct. Kind of has to be there if it's gonna release this year. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, again, kind of has to be there if it's releasing this year. Age of Mythology Retold, I've gone back and forth with myself on. It wasn't listed in anything, but like it's releasing this year. I just don't know if they'll have it at the event or if they'll be like, and for more information on Age of Mythology Retold, come to this Age of event, because like they typically like to do their own little events like that. So like I could see it getting mentioned, but like not actually being there or being at like the extended direct. Same thing with Aura. I don't know. Like it's also supposed to release this year. I don't know if it'll be at the main event, at like a main event or not. Towerborn will probably certainly be there. Again, releasing this year. They have to have something from the back catalog of Activision Blizzard like being announced at this event, because if it's not coming here, I'm gonna get real frustrated that we're 9 months out from the acquisition and we got Diablo 4 and that's it. Give me the Call of Duty campaigns I haven't played, please. I stopped buying Call of Duties after Ghosts and haven't bought one since, and I'd like to play some of those campaigns. Those are sweet like 8-hour FPS experiences. I just don't want to pay the cost to buy them. I don't want to store physical copies, even though those are a little cheaper. And Call of Duty Gulf War. It should be noted that Tom Henderson, who is an excellent reporter on shit like this when he puts his own name on stuff, has said that Call of Duty will not be announced at the Xbox showcase, but will be shown there in some kind of large capacity, such as like a campaign like level demo, like the first campaign gameplay or something like that. He said that like the reveal of the game is going to happen before that, at like a bespoke Call of Duty event. And like he reports on that shit on Call of Duty shit like this every year, right? Like every year he has the dates of like when Call of Duty is going to be revealed, what they're going to be talking about and stuff. So like it's not shocking that he has the information on like exactly how they're going to show that off. Also, I don't think we've mentioned it, but a tentative date was, I believe, June 9th? Sunday, June 9th, if that is the correct Sunday.
I haven't heard anything. Is that what they...
It was Tom Warren on The Verge.
It was Sunday last year.
Let's see. Yes, it would be. It's always Sunday. It is always Sunday.
Yeah, they like the Sundays.
Like since the E3 days, it's been Sunday.
Well, it's gonna be after Summer Game Fest, so yeah.
Yeah, it is. It looks like it's scheduled for Sunday the 9th of June. If I had to guess, it'll be at 2:30. Because I'm pretty sure that's what time it has been every year for the last, like, I don't know.
Well,
except for, like, the one weird COVID year. I think it's been like that every year since, like, 2015.
Yeah. I mean, that's good for us, being a Sunday.
Yeah. So, it's only a matter of time until Xbox announces the event properly, because they usually have announced the event by now. Usually they announce it in like late March, and so I'm kind of shocked we haven't had the announcement of this is the date for the show and the key art, the like weird key art that everyone talks about for 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because they always hide something in the key art. The one year, it was Halo Infinite, but it was in the key art you could see some stuff that teased that like the first season was going to be Reach themed. The one year they teased Starfield being at the event because they used the same planet from the initial teaser of Starfield, and everyone lost their mind and people were like, "No, you're nuts! It's just a random planet. What are you talking about?" And like, no, it's the same one. And then last year they used the same kind of particle effects from Fable. So I can't wait for the official announcement, because it's like 8 hours of like theory crafting, and that's my kind of like jam. So I'll be very excited to see that. Other than that, I think that's all I got, because I think it's a little too early for me to start speculating third-party stuff that'll be there.
Right.
Because I really need to hear what third-party events are going to happen this year. I think Silksong is probably a shoe-in, unless it like is announced earlier, because that announcement just kind of like happened, and Xbox executives made a big deal of it being the store page going live, like on Twitter. So like obviously that meant something.
Oh yeah, they definitely.
I wouldn't be shocked if they just dropped that during the event, specifically because like Team Cherry, I feel like when that game is ready to release, they're going to release it, and they're gonna be like, "You fucks, stop asking us for it." Right? This has been an Xbox community thing. People being like, "Where the hell is Silksong?" goes far beyond like any Xbox group of people. Like the Silksong fan, or the Hollow Knight fans are like, "Where is our game?" And there's specifically the Silksong, or the Hollow Knight character with the clown wig on, that people spam in like Twitch chats when Silksong doesn't show up at events that it probably could show up at, like Nintendo indie stuff, right? Like people are like, "Where's Silksong?" And so I think that whenever we hear from Silksong next, whatever event it is at, it releases exceptionally close to that event. And that's not an Xbox wanting a shadow drop thing. That's a Team Cherry being like, "Here it is, you fucks," and breaking the internet.
True. Yeah, that would be pretty nice for all those Hollow Knight fans. Yeah, and I agree. It would like, cause a big stir. Yeah.
I think that because they know that people want it, and it's been announced, and any showcase that happens, like literally any of them, PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, it's like, is Silksong gonna be here? Is Silksong gonna be here? So I'm gonna say it. Silksong's gonna be at the event. That's my prediction of the night. Silksong will be there.
All right.
Speaking of Silksong, has anybody checked on Dots since he made his comment? Just want to make sure that like nobody showed up to like snatch him out of his house.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
And then all you hear is,
I'm just sitting here waiting. All of a sudden, I'm like, "Get down on the ground, SWAT team!" Like, oh damn, he got swatted.
What I said is not as bad as what their Reddit is doing, tearing themselves apart.
Oh man. Poor Dots. Oh, there's gonna be some comments after this show you watched. I'm just teasing, Dots. I'm just teasing. But yeah, guys, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, there's just some early reports, and yeah, again, we'll see. But I think a lot of this was kind of common knowledge, because we knew it was going to be, these games are supposed to be releasing it later in the year. But hey, we'll see what else comes along the way, right? We're not too far, only like a couple months away from the June showcase anyways. But with that said, I think that about does it for this one, guys. Great chat from everyone here tonight. Honestly, loved all the thoughts, opinions, etc., etc. Really good stuff. Also, huge shout out to everyone that tuned in tonight. Familiar and new faces, great to all have you here. And if you enjoyed our chat tonight, then please consider leaving a like, sharing out this episode, and naturally subbing to the channel. Would love to have you stay on here. Next, on to the outros. Going on to the Dots. Dots, good stuff tonight. Where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, no, really good show today. You can find me at dotsrts on both Twitter and on Xbox. And yeah, I'm a little behind on it, but I'll likely be posting a lot of my finished work of my Warhammer minis onto my Twitter because I've been putting a lot of effort in them and I'm pretty proud with the outcome. And then I can finish that and go back to my Necrons. And yeah, having a good time with that.
Nice. I just picked up a broadside earlier today, by the way.
Of course you did, you dirty towel player.
Hey, I like my mechs. Like my mechs, what can I say? Not that I need another one to add to my pile of shame, but so be it. Moving on, the General MLD. Good stuff tonight from you as well, my friend. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, great chat. You guys can find me at MLD Ghost on Twitter X and Gamertag Ghost MLD. Looking forward to the next one.
Oh yeah. Next up, Eric Shockley. Shock, hey, I liked your commentary as well. Where can all these fine people follow you at?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at ShockNeuro on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, good show tonight. See y'all later. Be safe out there with that eclipse. Wear your glasses, but see you later.
Yes, actually, I was gonna mention that too because I'm in the pathway of that, so that's gonna be
Oh,
interesting.
shame.
Yes.
Yep, just have to hope those clouds don't screw it all up. But yeah, other than that.
We'll see. I'm just kind of like, it's happening, but whatever. Okay, Crusader. Hey, good stuff tonight from you as well. Where can everybody follow you?
You can follow me at Crusader3456 on basically all social media platforms and gaming platforms. Yeah, it was a good show tonight.
Indeed. Going on to Grimes next. Grimes, good stuff from you as well. Where can all these really awesome people follow you at?
Yeah, great show as always. Loved all the opinions, and yeah, you can find me on the Twitter at Fake Mayhem OG.
Yeah, good stuff. And Centurion, hey, I loved your commentary as well, bro. I always appreciate your perspective. Where can everybody find you?
Great conversation, guys. Really enjoyed conversating with you all tonight. For those interested in finding me and my content in the crazy world I live in, you can find me at Centurion1307, Xbox Live, Twitter, and of course on YouTube. I'm here every Sunday night with you guys. Sorry, forgot about that.
Well, hey, it happens. We're in the moment as of right now, right? So makes sense. But yeah, just to round out the crew, again, love being here every Sunday night, and you guys can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming. Posting randomly at the moment, but yeah, still getting out some videos. Fun chat, and we look forward to the next one, guys. Who knows what we'll be talking about next week. Later, guys.